morning and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi HR, and it's such a pleasure to be here once again. And I would like to personally apologize for some days where we've not really been able to come to you on the Good Morning Education Show live. Um, Partly, it's actually been a mixture of several things. Number one has been uh, some of us have been on the road in between some commitment, development commitment at the time, and we also had issues scheduling also the broadcast with some IT and internet issues. But we need to tell you that we are sorry, and then we also need to ensure and encourage and assure you that the Good Morning Education Show will always be on air. And like we say, you can catch us Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. West African time. No matter how short it's going to be, we will have the show, and all the same, we'll make sure it's all the time a value add to you. So, understanding that, we would like to welcome you to the show today, and I want to appreciate you for joining us, on the show this morning. One of the things that we're going to be doing today is just to breeze through um, some of the things that are happening. But I want to share my heart and mind with you today on the show. So it might not be the regular conventional show that you're used to, where we just take up a topic and just dissect anyhow. But I believe that the little time that we have together this morning is something that you and I can easily kind of rub minds together and also, identify how we bring value, on the subject matter of the day. So please bear with me. Um, but I just really want to tell you that today we will be talking about a topic that just addresses sometimes our current state, our current use, that addresses our current situation, that addresses our current plight, you know. And it's said that, a lot of times when people keep going over and over and over again on a matter, there's a tendency for them to just flatten out, So I hope that one of the things that this session will do is to address this issue, address it, fair and square, and then we're able to, understand, um, understand that's the way it should be, you So that's pretty much what we're trying to do, and today we'll try to see if we could take one or two headlines, and then after which we come back and we will talk about the topic of the day, right? So yeah. And welcome back to the Good Morning Education Show. We're here, we're live, we're direct, and I want us to go straight to the point. Okay. We will not be taking any headlines so that we can have a bit of more time, talking about the subject matter of the day. And this is very important for you and I to understand. Very important for you and I to understand. Um, so I will be talking about a little bit of imagination. A little bit of imagination. Imagination can be defined in different ways. but just talk about imagination. And one constant thing that you must have at the back of your mind is that there will always be images. There will always be images, and a lot of people have stopped imagining. You know, a lot of people, a lot of people. Imagination sometimes, you know, is one of the things that helps you and I get to the place and the point of doing something new. It helps you to get to the place at the point of getting something better, you know. So, when we say a little bit of imagination, we need to ask ourselves how much have we been able to inspire ourselves and others towards seeing and thinking and dreaming and probably also designing something new, right? It's very important that we identify that, right? And that makes us a bit more resourceful, it makes us a bit more creative, you know. And I feel that it's really an ability. Most people might be wondering when we say imagination. Imagination, really, really, really an ability. When you actually think about, putting and processing things which are probably not real, and they begin to form a picture in your head, they form a picture in your mind. That's what it means. When you're able to experience that image, in fact, it almost becomes so real, it's causing you to take certain action. That's imagination, you know. And of course, you know that by now, when we're talking about to imagine, your mind is a very powerful tool because imagination happens, or better still, imagination exists in the mind. There are situations that could trigger, that could cause us to imagine, you know, and we imagine for different reasons, you know. But it's very important that we recognize the importance of the kind of imagination, you know. And I think that one of the things that sometimes we might need to look at is that it can be sub segmented, as it were, you know. I, for one, believe, and I practice it as well, that it's very good to have what you call strategic imagination, where you are able to think of something, make something happen. You are able to draw something out, and that thing is able to get you into the picture that you ought to have. You are able to bring out that information that gets you into the picture of, getting something more strategic out of the things that you do. You know, that's really what I see imagination as. You get, and because of that, it helps you see things from a better perspective. Imagination really is, for me, in that strategic point, makes you shape out things, and causes you to look at things from different strata, looking at it from different perspective, different point of view. And it also helps the individual involved in such, to gain some measure of leverage and advantage. I think that there's something called intellectual and constructive imagination. And why is that? Because also the direction that you are pondering on, the flow of your thought and picture, it's almost in the place of intellect. It's constructive in nature because it's seeking not just to think and feel, it's seeking not just to project and profile, but it's seeking to be able to mold into reality and result. Of course, there's imaginative fantasy. Imaginative fantasy, I think, would be where we just have what most of us call uh, how is it, what do you call it? Daydreaming, just black out in a positive way. Can you think about something ahead of what they call it, of yourself? And then when you think about it, you're talking about emotional imagination, you're talking about dreams, you're talking about memory reconstruction. These are little things that you and I can consider as types of imagination. But why are we talking about a little bit of imagination today? Because A lot of copy and paste culture seems to be prevalent out there as educators, as business people, as professionals, as coaches, as individuals who want to provide value to the world, who wants to create wealth from the world. I want us to be very cautious and careful that we are not in that habit where it looks like all that we want to do and all that we want to get to happen is just to get to a point where, you know, in your mind and in the mind's eye, you just want to do things and get it out. But when we begin to think about life and begin to think about our pursuit and we begin to have a little bit of imagination, what that does for you and I is that it gives us some measure of edge into originality. It gives us some measure of edge into growth. So there are many times that you are going to do things that are not necessarily new. When I say new, I mean it's not just you doing it alone in the world, but the growth edge of it, the growth curve of it, that is a big deal for you. So because you want to be able to see yourself advancing in the kind of things that you do. You want to be able to see yourself, projecting yourself in such a way where it's easier. And you see, a lot of times the reason people don't tamper with things is because they have not been using their imagination. When you think about sectoral growth, you think about sectoral development, you cannot run away from imagination. You cannot run away from the use of the mind. And it's just for people to think about it and say, what would be? In fact, I love the question when you begin with the what. It begins to seek you painting a picture. How could this be? What could this be? What could this reality project for you and I? And that's the reason why I need you to start your day, start your week, start your month, start your year, start your project with a little bit of imagination. I'll give you a personal experience. Sometimes when I do some things and it seems like um, you're feeling like this is not communicating as you want it to, it's not resonating with you. Sometimes I just take a sit back and then I look at things I'm doing and I'm like, what can be going on here? I think I probably need to change. Or better still, I just decide to think. And this time around, effortlessly, or sometimes, with a renewed look and a renewed zest towards that thing, I just find the answer and I'm like, you know what? This is the direction I'm going to go. And that's the same thing when we begin to approach the things that we do with a little bit of imagination. I use the word a little bit. Why? So that it doesn't make people think that it's so much of a hard chore. And I'd like to welcome Ugochi. Good morning, Ugochi. Safety chick, how are you? You're
Good
muted.
morning, Mr. Itime. I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
It feels like my birthday having to see that you're on the show today.
Is it me or your voice is sounding far away?
Is it sounding far away? Wow. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now.
Oh, fantastic. So, welcome to the Good Morning Education Show, all the way from the United
Yay.
States of America.
Yeah.
So, talk to me. How's it been? How's life been?
Fine. Take it one day at a time.
I trust you. All right. So, today on the show, we're talking about a little bit of imagination. A little bit of imagination. I know you have some things to share. Would you like to, share with us?
Okay, so in what direction would you want this conversation to go in terms because it can go in several ways. So, in what direction would you want it to go?
I don't mind if it goes in many ways, but the idea is, a lot of people have now become so fatigued of progress. We lack that drive and innovation, and everybody's just doing things almost like we just want to just get by. And I feel that it's important for people to begin, to put a little bit of imagination in the things that they do, to find out that novelty, to find that edge, to also pursue the growth. Sometimes it looks like, so what next? What else is there that can be done? But a little bit of imagination becomes an antidote to that in itself. So let's hear from you.
Okay, so I agree that sometimes, the pressures of life, the struggle, everything, can just make one feel that what are we even making an effort for? Nothing is going on, right? But the truth is, if we take a step back to reflect, and see that's why periodic reflections are really important. If we take a step back to reflect and ask ourselves, why are we even doing what we are doing? What is the big why behind the work we do? When we
Hello?
connect to that big why, then we need to ask ourselves, okay, so if this is really my why, what are you currently is it? Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, yes. So we need to ask ourselves, but it all start from that place of reflection. Because if we don't reflect to ask ourselves those deep questions, we just keep on doing things, playing things by ear, doing things routinely, just the way. It's almost like we've it's, for example, today I was coming back from somewhere, right? And I'm supposed to, when I was almost on automatic movement, and I was supposed to to my right and get into the train station. But because I had routed my mind from the hospital to where I was coming that to the place where I dropped off the train. I was about to cross the road to the other side to my right. It was almost at that point of crossing the road. I put my foot on the zip where you started from. The other, you're going to the next train of automaticity. Many of us, we have been programmed to, we've been doing, we can replicate that thing. But many times we need to pause and ask ourselves, isn't there another way of doing this thing? Is there a clue that I am missing? Is there a clue that I am missing? Is there a unique way of producing this same result, you know, or even better? Otherwise, it's almost like people can put their keys in their car and they can drive to church or they can drive to work almost every day of their lives. And so it's just automatic. But if we begin to take that moment to reflect on what challenges I encounter, how can I still get to my destination without losing myself? What can I put in place? What technology can make it easy? What collaborations can make it faster? Just that little bit of reflection can actually make a difference. And so And so this is just to encourage everyone that you don't need to do too much. Sometimes it's just you staying quiet by yourself. To think. I find a lot of people run away from thinking. A lot of people run away from spending time with themselves. They're always trying to fill those spots of free time with either talking with other people, yourself, and thoughts. More insight.
Hello? Seems that the line is breaking.
More ideas, and imagination can spark once you allow yourself to go through that process. Over to you, sir. Please confirm you can hear me.
Okay, now I can hear you. It was a bit of a trouble. I wasn't sure it was breaking, and then fantastic. I love the fact that can you hear me as well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. I love the fact that when you were talking about reflections, it's a very powerful tool, and most people might not practice it often. I don't know why, but probably you could also you could also help to talk about why is it that people are not in the habit of reflecting, and how can we positively reflect so that not on the path of reflecting you not get people dropping out into regret. Oh dear, she just dropped out due to network. I believe she's going to come back. But if you've been listening to what we've been talking about, a little bit of imagination is almost like now a call to action where we encourage people out there to really, really, really stop the autopilot mode where you're just on a grind over and over and over and over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again. I think that it's important that you begin to embrace a pause and think about how things have been, and think about how things are done, and begin to recalibrate yourself to doing things in a different way and adding some measure of imagination. What we have today, especially in some part of our world, is not so challenging or impressive, because a lot of times it seems like there's imagination outside of these things. It seems that we have taken it upon ourselves just to ensure that we do what is expected to be done, but we are not seeing that kind of imagination. And this is not just restricted to a sector called education. I'm beginning to see that it's affecting us across sectors, affecting us across segments, affecting us across industries. We are expected, I repeat, we are expected to bring on imagination to the things we do, whether it's in selling, whether it's in buying, whether it's in reaching out to people, whether it's we need to. Well, welcome back, Ugochi. Are you there now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. So I was just asking you that can you help us? You mentioned reflection. I think is very powerful. How can we positively reflect? So we don't also do it in the wrong way and maybe get into depression. How can we? How can we reflect?
Okay, so I think that reflection should be incorporated daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and then of course yearly. And so that it doesn't feel like it is such a big deal, right? It can be the last thing you do at night before you go to bed, or the first thing you do in the morning before you jump out of bed, after you have prayed and you are planning for the day. I find that many people just wake up and rush out. They just fly out of their bed. In fact, many people, their alarms just ring and they run, they almost spring out. That thing can lead to heart attack. Well, I'm just kidding, but I don't believe in you just wake up and you fly out of your bed. No, I know that sometimes it's the Lagos thing that makes it, but if it means you set your alarm a little bit earlier, 30 minutes earlier, so that you can just have some time to lie down quietly on your bed. You don't even need to get up. Just lie down quietly. You say your prayers, and then when you're done, you reflect. Okay, so what went well yesterday? Okay, how can I do better today? What are the things that worked
I love,
or what didn't work, or how did I behave that maybe I could have done better. Because the truth is, when we do well, we know. When we also don't do well, we know. And I know many people are not able to tell themselves the truth, but at least you're able to be honest to your own self. Now, if you feel that having such a conversation will be depressing for you in the morning, then you have it at the end of the day. Go to sleep. How did today go? What worked? What didn't work? How could I have done the things that I did today better? Oh, what put a smile on someone's face or gave someone or someone gave me good feedback on? How can I do that more? So a life of constant reflection is great. And then based on your feedback for the day, you are going to bed having a plan of action for your next day. Now if you feel that now wow, doing it every day is a lot of work, you can make it a weekend thing, something that happens weekly. So at the end of the week, you can assess, how can I do better? So it should always be like a case of what am I stopping and what am I sustaining in your head, into your digital or physical journals, and all that. Instead of supposed to leverage technology, books, to free without too much stress and worry. And then, one of the things I shared with my mentees at the end of January, I told them, I said, we're still that did not work. How can you take lessons from what happened to you in January into February to ensure that? Because many times people wait to do an evaluation at the end of the year. The end of the year is too far to make a change. But if you do this thing on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, or even if it is monthly, it's still something. You are able to course correct as opposed to waiting to the end of 12 months before you make that correction. And so it's not a case of you are trying to should I say get yourself depressed because of the mistakes you made. Always look at the bright side. Even if something bad happened, something that you did not expect happened, what can you learn from it? What is the lesson there? How do you think it can prepare you to be a better person in your relationship with other people, or to make it to make it better decisions. So when you come from that angle of looking for what to learn from the situation as opposed to castigating yourself, it's encouraging. It is better. Yeah, so that's what I would say about that.
all right. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone listening
Back
can
to you,
easily
sir.
see that. Yes, thank you so much. Everyone can easily see and understand that, when it comes to reflection, it's better
Back
that
to
you
you, sir.
don't
Can you
wait.
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. So I was just trying to recap on what you've said, that reflection should actually be an integrated lifestyle, meaning that we probably have it daily, weekly, monthly, and then, of course, yearly. So it doesn't put the pressure on making 6 months or one year your period of reflection. There's so much you might miss out But then I love the idea that either as you begin your day or as you end your day, you take out time to just reflect. It's I think reflection should not be seen from like it shouldn't be seen from the perspective that this is hard work. It shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
seen from yeah.
Yes.
I think we should not once you approach it with ease, it's easier to embrace, you know.
Yes, I agree.
Hello. Yeah. So I want to say so a little bit of imagination. What other thing do you think that we should tell people out there, as they understand that this conversation is really something that might even give them the edge in productivity in their performance and most likely even in their profiting. What other things do you think we should also you know bring to the table? Because also a lot of people don't trust themselves. When you say my idea is it good enough, because one thing imagination does, it creates a picture and then profiles something as something you are able to approach, seek for, or pursue to get. So what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so it's very important for people to know what is going on in other sectors. That people have to be intentional about reading, knowing what is going on in other sectors. Because sometimes just by listening to the happenings in other sectors, you have inspiration on how to take something from another sector and infuse it in your own sector. If you look at so many businesses that are cutting edge today in the world, you will see that there were elements that they probably borrowed from another business, and they infused it into their own sector, and it worked. So it's just the way people could place orders from their phones for food. And we have today people being able to place orders for cabs from their phones. And now people can even place orders for accommodation, Airbnb, from their phones. So sometimes it could just be as simple as watching what is going on in another sector and then putting it in your own sector. So you have to be willing to read, know what's going on in the news. You just never can tell what bit of information you might see that can shift your thoughts for you. And then it's also important to immerse yourself in communities where in forward-thinking communities. I have found that when you are in communities, and this can be associations, it can be groups, peer groups, it can be whatever groups of people um, that fits should I say, your life goals, right? Immersing yourself in those kinds of communities has a way of sharpening your mind, giving room for ideas to breathe. Because what happens when you are in a space with people from different backgrounds, different educational qualifications, different identities, and all that is you begin to hear things from their perspective. Sometimes you observe. And so there are things that you are going to learn because you are taught. And there's some things that you are going to catch just because you're in the same environment. And so being in such spaces can also help you and give you insights. And it can set your imagination ball rolling, because ideas can sometimes drop just by watching what someone is doing, or just by being a part of what they're doing, or just by sharing your thoughts, with that space with them. Yes. So reading the news, immersing yourself in communities, and what else will I say now? I think those two are great for now. Back to you, sir. You
Thank
are
you
muted. I
so
can't
much.
hear you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
I
can
just
hear you.
noticed. I love the fact that you said we should learn to immerse. I love that word. Immerse yourself in meaningful communities, in communities. Immerse yourself, deep yourself. It's not all the time that you just want to learn and you just want to hear. Sometimes you just want to be a part, because that also, makes that building process complete. You said another thing about, try to watch what is going on in other sectors. That's a powerful one. And why am I saying that? Because, you know, uh, you cannot just wait for something to, bust out of thin air. There are things that are clues everywhere written across. And like you mentioned, these clues can actually be adapted, even if it's not just adapted in terms of making it um, work for your own reality. These are many more things. I really love the approach of what you said, and I believe that yeah, it's doable, and it's reasonable. So it's important for anyone who will watch this, and anyone who is listening to us today, to make up their mind that probably they need to go back to their pursuits, their profession, their career, their businesses, their classrooms, their schools, and whatever it is, and decide that, what, maybe it's time for us to apply a little bit of imagination. Let's not feel we cannot tamper with those things because it's always been like that. It has always they met it like that. Apply some imagination to your work. It will bring out flavor. It will bring out beauty. Sometimes that might only even be the thing that encourages you to continue, because a lot of people give up when they feel things have become stale. There's nothing challenging anymore. But your imagination can actually cause you to continue. It can cause consistency or continuity, as some people will say, when you feel, if I do this or if we tweak this, it can cause us to continue. Really, I love that. Thank you so much. I would like you to just give your parting shots on today's conversation as we bring this to a close.
Okay, so I'll just encourage everyone that don't think that you are boring or that you cannot be creative, because I know that there are people that feel that when they're talking about creativity, it's not their type they are looking for there. It's nothing like that. All of us have the capacity to be creative and to be imaginative. So just be a little bit more observant. It could be something that your students do in your class. It can be something that you watch on social media. It can be something you see in the news. Just being a little bit more open and receptive, you'll be amazed at the things you find that can actually spark your imagination.
Fantastic. Spark your imagination. Spice. You know, spark and spice and spark. Whatever it is, make sure that you do things with a better approach and think better with imagination. Thank you, Gochi Obidegu. Thank you for joining us. It's such a pleasure. I'm so excited. I don't feel like asking questions. I just feel like just hearing your voice over and over again. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, you've heard what she said. You've heard what I've said. Put this to practice, and I believe that things will become much better. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, God willing, and I believe it will be a great time. Remember, we have a saying on the show. Ugochi, are you ready for it? At the count of two. One, two,
Yeah.
go. It's
It's always a
always
great morning.
good
It's a
morning
good
on
morning
the Good Morning
education
Education.
show.
Take care, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.